Hey, so I'm back. I'm going to start making more Grimdark episodes again. Today we're going to make ramshackle houses in the sort of style of Mad Max and Fallout and post-apocalyptia and all that. So first we're going to go over some materials we're going to need for this. So first up, we're going to need some Pink Panther foam. We've used this stuff before. We used it to make the gaming table, used it to make a lot of terrain. You can get this stuff at like Home Depot and that kind of place. You might recognize this one actually. This is our terrain table we made previously, and I've since become dissatisfied with its dimensions. So we're going to be cutting this one apart, and I'm probably going to make a new one in the near future, and probably do it a little differently. So you can look forward to that. Anyway, so we're going to be butchering this thing as you see. Next up is our Elmer's glue. You don't need to use the albino cow brand. You can really buy any kind of, white glue like this. You can even use carpenter's glue. It'll just take forever to dry. The next thing we're going to need, popsicle sticks. Yeah, I don't think I need to explain these anymore. Also, we're going to be using these. These are a little bit like the popsicle sticks. They're made from about the same type of wood, but they're little wooden sticks. They look like coffee stirring sticks that you'd get at a coffee shop, but they're made a little bit tougher than that. But it doesn't really matter which you use. These ones are made specifically for arts and crafts, but coffee ones are just fine too. Next up are wooden dowels. I got these at Fred Meyer, the same place where I got the coffee sticks and the popsicle sticks. But you can probably get them at any craft store. You can get them in a package, like a couple dozen of them for like $1 or $2. And of course, like any good terrain project, we're going to be supplementing whatever we make with bits from our bits box. What we're going to cover right now are some of the tools we'll be using during this project. We're going to need some scissors. These really don't need to be anything fancy. These are ones I bought like at Walgreens or something. Sometimes I even use these to trim my beard. They're just scissors. Next is our pliers. These are really useful. I mostly just use them for the wire cutting implement in the middle right here. But having pliers never hurts either. It's really great for twisting wire on other projects. I don't know where my little red wire cutters went. Those were really handy. These are a little more unwieldy. Next up is our big scary knife. That is an official industry term or something, I don't know. As you can see, the lock on mine broke from using it so violently, so I had to wrap it in duct tape. But these are just great. They cost next to nothing, and you can abuse them and not feel bad about it. We're also going to need a small screwdriver or something similar. You'll see later. You need a mechanical pencil. It does not need lead. But you want to make sure that it's a kind with a soft round plastic end and not those ones that have like a little metal point or something like that. Also, if you can't find one like this, a wooden pencil with a very soft round end will also work. One that's not been sharpened recently. A felt pen, you don't need this. It's really helpful. But if you are going to use this, I stress that you want a felt tip, like a Sharpie or something, and not a pen like this, with a little, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a little needle end. Maybe see it against the foam? Yeah. Because this thing will just dig into the foam when you try and draw on it and shreds it, and it's no good. Not for what we need. I love these pens, just not for this. Alright, so I'm going to show you a few examples of the kind of stuff we're going to be making today. For starters, this is the first one I made of these three. And in a lot of ways this is the simplest of all of them, even though it has the most random crap on it. This one I made before I bought any of the dowels or coffee sticks. So you'll notice that all the wood planks in it are the exact same width because they're all popsicle sticks. What we're looking at here is a chunk of Pink Panther foam. Hey, you can even see the panther winking at you. Some odd bits of plasticard, like this piece here came out of my bits box. So did this. So did this. The rest of it's just planks. Oh, this is plasticard. Oh yeah, and this is just a big chunk of pink foam. You can't really tell because I painted it. Well, I mean, you can tell. It's the right kind of texture and material, but it just looks like a big slab of stone. The other one I made, this one's a little more plain, but at the same time has more mixed panels. I think I painted it better. It looks a little more convincing. So you'll notice this one, the planks are not all the same width. They're a little more odd and that sort of thing. It gives it a more natural look. It's got all these cross beams and stuff. You'll You'll notice, since I made this out of our gaming table, it's got this textured roof, so it's not a big deal that I didn't have spackle, because the top's already spackled. I'm particularly pleased with how this side came out, because I lined up a bunch of wooden dowels and cut them up and had cross planks holding them together. And in here we actually have a recessed doorway. That's one of the tricks we're going to be going over today. And there's a new technique that is not even going to be a rehash of stuff I've shown you in the previous videos, like the rest of this stuff is. We have, I'm not sure if you can see the texture here. Oops, crickets. What we have here is a brick and mortar side to the building. And I'm going to show you a way to do this so that the mortar is actually recessed a little bit, so it actually gives a cool texture for the bricks. We're also going to spend some time today on detailing on your building. This one here, I don't know if you can read it, but there's little posters for rock concerts and stuff. It says bar over the doorway, and there's graffiti where people have written their profane nicknames and stuff. There's a wanted poster, and more posters here. So we're going to go over some nice tricks for doing small cramped writing with a paintbrush, because God knows it's fucking hard. I have more graffiti over here. Now, ordinarily, I would also include spackle and sand in these projects, but I haven't been to the hardware store in about a year, at least in the interest of buying materials for making terrain. So we're not going to be using them today because I'm too lazy. Okay, so first up is getting the piece of foam we're going to need. We're going to make sort of a moderate-sized house, about the size of the bar I showed you earlier, not quite as big as the nondescript longhouse. We're going to want a piece of rectangle about this big. Of course, we're going to need our big scary knife for this. This is our plane hijacking knife, our serial killer knife. It makes this charming squeaking sound like you're stomping on mice. Alright, here's our foam piece. Now to get to work. Okay, so you'll see that our foam piece is a little rough around the edges after being carved up like that. So we're going to tidy it up a little bit. Right now you'll see where we want the textured side is our roof. Oh, it's a little banged up. It's okay though. Anyway, we're going to want the spackle textured side as our roof. Just so it saves us the trouble of, you know, decorating it. And you'll notice that it's got kind of an outward slant. That's not really what we want here. This makes the building look a little more unstable than what we're going for, at least what I'm going for. So cut it down like this, smooth it out a little bit more. It doesn't need to be super smooth because we're going to be covering it all up with wooden planks and the like. We are going to want one side to be nice and smooth because we're going to do that brick thing I showed you earlier. Anyway, one way you can make sure you don't get shredding when you're cutting with a knife like this is to do your cuts nice and slow and don't push too hard. You're going to get some shredding no matter what, but it makes it a lot more smooth. Yeah, here we go. Like that. Actually, this side's not looking too bad. We're probably going to do the brick texture on this side because this is the smoothest. I think this is actually the outside edge of the plank of the foam piece we used, so that makes sense. Next thing we're going to do is that smooth edge we're going to do the brick texture on. We're going to take a bit of sandpaper. This is going to be really noisy. You're probably not going to be able to hear me over the video, so I'll explain it first. We're just going to sand it shut because there is a little bit of a rough edge here, and some of the spackles hung over the edge. Also, if you're smart, you won't do this next to your keyboard like I'm doing, because it'll get a shitload of dust in your keyboard. You can also use it to smooth out the corners a bit. If the corners of foam are going to be exposed on yours, make them look a little less artificial. Alright, so We can still see a little bit of it, but that's okay. Now it's nice and smooth. It even has sort of a fuzzy texture, which is always fun.